McShay saying he's not doing what he needs to do in the pocket in order to be successful in the long run. His take on Johnny Manziel. Skip Bayless, what do you make of Todd McShay's stance?
Stephen A. Smith, before I answer this question, for the record, I remain extremely sold on Johnny Manziel. For the record, I am not sold on Teddy Bridgewater. Now, also for the record, I love me some Todd McShay. Love talking football with him, respect the heck out of the homework and film study that he does. That's why this shook me up this morning, Stephen A., when I was listening to Todd on Mike and Mike, because this was a significant shift from what we've heard from Todd on First Take numerous times through the college football season. As you might remember, Todd was a little more bullish on Johnny than Mel Kiper was through the football season. Now they've reversed roles. Mel's a little more up on Johnny, and it sounds like after Todd has done more film breakdown, maybe more homework as far as calling people around the NFL, personnel directors, decision makers, he has soured some today on Johnny Manziel. And he goes so far as to say that it's, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he portrayed it as almost a laughable gap between the pocket passing, the pure pocket passing of Teddy Bridgewater over Johnny Manziel. You just heard the soundbite. I don't see that. I'm sorry. I will give Todd that Teddy is a little purer pocket passer, maybe has a little stronger arm, a little better accuracy. But Stephen A., I'm sorry, the Johnny I watched every snap this football season improved dramatically as a pocket passer. And hey, if we don't talk about laughable gaps, there's one between Johnny and Teddy when it comes to big game competitive fire, to it factor, to who you got, who you want on your side with all the marbles on the line. I'm taking Johnny Manziel over Teddy Bridgewater, who did not have his signature college football win. Johnny did win a Heisman Trophy. He did shatter Cam Newton's all-time single-season SEC single yardage totals, as you know, a year ago. But, okay, Todd also went on Mike and Mike to say he questions Johnny's durability. Well, you had to last year because Johnny was taking crazy risks trying to overcome one of the worst big-time college defenses I have ever witnessed in college football. So every game he felt like he had to score 50 against Auburn in that shootout that Auburn finally won 45-41. He took a risk early in the fourth quarter and banged up his shoulder. He banged up his knee. Then he banged up his thumb. It was the SEC. It was much tougher competition that Teddy was facing in the Louisville schedule. So in the end, I'm sorry. I greatly disagree with Todd's assessment today of Johnny Manziel, and I do not understand, even though he still has him falling only to the 5th spot to the Oakland Raiders. That would be intriguing. But he's down at the bottom of the first round in grade for Todd McShay, and I really disagree.
Well, listen, if I remember correctly, Todd McShay had him going 5th overall to the Raiders. And so my point to you is that when you talk about greatly disagreeing, well, look at your synopsis. Look at your explanation. You said that Teddy Bridgewater may be, around the same size, a little bit, in terms of his accuracy, a little bit better, in terms of, his arm, a little bit better. Well, that might explain some of the things that Todd McShay is reporting based on what he's hearing. And in the end, what we have to come down, and when we really have to boil it down to, Skip, is that what we're holding against Teddy Bridgewater more than anything else is his strength of schedule, because Louisville really didn't play, too many big-time opponents. I mean, obviously they beat Florida in a bowl game, not this past season, but the season before, and we've seen him perform admirably to the point where he ended up in our studio, and we were talking about Teddy Bridgewater in an entirely different light. And so as a result of that, this guy, whether it's the number 1, number 2, or number 3 quarterback taken in the draft, Teddy Bridgewater is going to be right there. So he's done something right. And he has absolutely nothing to do with the schedule that's on the field against Louisville and what he had to go up against. So we can't hold him accountable for that. Now we can look at Johnny Manziel. Clearly, I think he's improved. His pocket presence has definitely improved. Todd McShay alluded to his patience on a football field. But when you hear him talk about how he's not seeing the entire field and there's some misses that took place, plus he's a bit reckless, what he's saying to you is that NFL executives are telling him this. And if they're telling him that, Skip, it brings us down, or it gets us down to the nitty-gritty of this entire argument, and that is this. When you are the #1 overall pick in an NFL draft, you have to be a sure thing. You believe in Johnny Manziel. You've seen him have that it factor as well as I have. He's been absolutely electrifying. You talked about and explained away some of the mistakes that he made and attributed it to Texas A&M's defense and how porous it was, how pathetic it was, et cetera, et cetera. We understand that. But it doesn't negate the fact that you saw mistakes. It doesn't negate the fact that you saw a bit of a risque mentality. And it doesn't negate the fact that you have a lot of NFL coaches, executives, et cetera, that really are averse to such things. Because when you're talking about the #1 overall pick, it needs to be a sure thing. Which is why I said, even though I wouldn't blame the Houston Texans for taking him #1 overall, even though I think his talents are electrifying and he deserves a lot of credit for that, when you talk about a sure thing in the draft, to me, a surer thing than anybody else that I've seen is Jadeveon Clowney. And when you're talking about the #1 overall pick, you need to be a sure thing. So I understand Houston's dilemma. He played in Texas, Johnny Manziel, and as a result of that, you've got one of your own as a product there who can produce for you and who will not just be a good football player, but will most definitely be box office. But at the same time, if I'm the #1 overall pick, I'm a bit scared when it comes to Johnny Manziel. I'm not going to deny that because the #1 needs to really, really be a sure thing.